Hello and welcome all of you out there, and in today's video I'm going to share with you the most predictable Ark Tames. In like, when you tame them you kind of just know what to expect. So let's get right into this. In at number 10 we have the Vonaur, and this creature is pretty much just what you would expect from taming it. It is a turret which is also a living creature, and a very neat idea which I think wildcards really should revisit at some point, as this is one of my favourite creatures. Also to mention, the creatures on this list aren't necessarily bad because of their predictability. They are still good creatures, maybe apart from one which I can think later on the list, but their predictability is just a factor of their design and what kind of creature they are in general, or it could just be a mixture of both. And again, with the Vonaur, you can kind of just tell what you're getting right from the get-go. This thing is a portable turret which can just shoot a hell of a lot of bullets, which sadly don't really scale, or don't actually scale at all when you level up melee damage. Don't know why I said don't really, but obviously if you level up that stamina, these things will be able to fire so many bullets. And also the stamina drain of the Vonaur is so minimal. Have no idea why I can't talk today. Next up we have the Barionics, and you can guess its biome, what it eats, and not really what it is useful for, but still just its general use case is pretty self-explanatory. You can probably guess this thing spawns in the swamp, it eats fish, and it is a small carnivore which does carnivore things. It doesn't really have any special abilities about it. The stunning ability is slightly unpredictable if you don't know about this creature in Ark already, as obviously any special abilities like that are just going to be generally unpredictable, but you kind of just know what you're getting really out of this creature. It is a mediumly sized carnivore which will pack a huge punch in terms of damage, and it is actually pretty good at swimming, which you could guess by the fact that it eats fish, and it will spawn in a swamp biome, or you could kind of say aquatic-y biomes of sorts. In Ark, it's in the swamp biome, and you could probably guess that pretty easily from obviously just what this creature is. Again, that caving is the reason why it is a lot lower on the list than some of the creatures way up high in the list, as that is definitely an unpredictable thing which you can't really predict just by looking at this thing's model. Now, the Raptor has to be one of the most predictable Ark Tames. You really do know what to expect from this creature. It is again a small, I would say small for this, because it's smaller than the Baryonyx, and the Baryonyx is kind of medium sized. This is a small carnivore which does carnivore things. It will absolutely tear through the majority of creatures smaller than it, and it can do some decent stuff to creatures larger than it too, although maybe don't try everything with this, as their health can be a little bit low, especially if you tame one of these things early in the game and you got a low level. If you go up against alphas or even just some mid to high level Rexes, they may struggle a lot and they may end up dying too, which isn't great. But again, with the Raptor's model, you can tell exactly what it can do. You can tell it's an extremely mobile creature, again because of that small size. You can tell it is going to pack some damage because of its teeth and just generally how built up its face is. And you can again just tell what it does, mainly just by the fact that most people know what a Velociraptor is, or in this case just the Raptor. It's not really mentioned what type of Raptor it is. You can easily tell. The Raptor is pretty self-explanatory when it comes to what it does as a creature. Reasonably stealthy, small, does some damage, and just does general carnivore things. Now, anyone is going to know what the Castoroides is able to do if you know what a beaver is and what a beaver does. These are insanely great gatherers of wood, and if you didn't know, beavers essentially just do everything wood. They just do so many things with wood. They build structures out of it and all of that, so it really does make sense why they're great with wood, and they're great in the water as well. All pretty self-explanatory, and obviously there are beaver dams in the game as well. We can get resources. Again, that's quite easy to guess. This creature just essentially is the beaver. The Castoroides just was a giant beaver after all. So it's just essentially everything that a beaver would do, but now in Ark, and maybe just slightly different, as beavers aren't going to be whacking down trees in one bite. And obviously, where's the wood going to go? But, you know, the point still stands. This is pretty obviously just essentially a port from IRL, just a beaver. Now, I'm going to put the Anki and Doic next, as you can kind of tell what these creatures are used for in Ark. Because of their huge tail, you can pretty obviously tell that these things are just used to smash something up in the game to obtain something or destroy something. And in terms of Ark, it is obviously to obtain something. The Doic is going to get you so much stone, it's insane. And the Anki is going to get you all of that flint and metal. The Anki is obviously the more popular and useful of the two, because metal is a very essential resource. But if you're getting things like spark powder, both are going to be useful, and that is obviously going to be a very useful resource, not just because spark powder is used in a variety of things, but also spark powder with charcoal does make gunpowder, so you're going to need a lot of stone as well. And you can even make cementing paste. What am I thinking of? You can make cementing paste with stone or chitin or keratin, or I don't know what I'm saying. Stone with chitin or keratin is going to make cementing paste. Have no idea why I can't speak today. Probably because I'm recording this at like 9 at night. I definitely have a great time schedule. In at number 5 is the Areno. And you can pretty obviously tell what this thing is going to do. It's going to shoot webs. And it will do some bitey things. And that is all the Areno does. You can ride it and it shoots webs. And you can do bitey things with it. Look how amazing this creature is. And actually in Ark, this is a really useless creature. You shouldn't use the Areno for anything. They're annoying to tame. With their passive tame, it's not worth it. And they don't really do anything after you tame. If they could climb walls and things like that, that'd be cool. The Bloodstalker is just a superior Ark Spider, but again, very predictable in what this creature can actually do. Now, the Carno has to be put on this list. Although I really love the Carno, and the Carno is a great creature, it kind of does have to get dissed slightly for its predictability, as you can pretty obviously tell what this thing is going to do. It is a carnivore that does carnivore things. Again, I feel like I keep saying that. I definitely have been. But essentially, this is a carnivore which can deal insane amounts of damage using its head, just because of how buff it is, and with all its horns. The bleedability is pretty self-explanatory there. And yeah, it just deals a lot of damage, and again, because of its size, it's reasonably agile. It eats meat. Just spawns in a general grassy biome, as you would expect probably. And it's just that kind of creature, you know. You wouldn't expect it to be in packs, and it isn't in packs. You just expect it to go around by itself and just tear through loads and loads of creatures. Maybe not Rexes, although they easily can tear through Rexes. It's not even difficult, but I don't think they attack each other in the wild. Not really sure actually about what creatures attack what creatures, because it's different, depends on the creature. I don't think they would attack Rexes, but you do see a lot of Carnos around the map just absolutely charging at things, and you can kind of expect that from their model and their design. You can tell from the Carno what the Carno is supposed to do. In at number 3 is the Giga, and you can kind of put the Castoroides here as well, but I would say the Giga more so, as its taming method is a lot more predictable, especially for Ark. You should knock this thing out. It's that simple. Whereas the Castoroides, you do need to actually know how to tame that to be able to really just know. You can't really guess it. It's so complicated in its nature for someone to guess. Not that it's a complicated taming method. Either way, talking about the Giga, you can very easily tell what this thing is going to do. It's a big, massive, hunking carnivore which just absolutely obliterates creatures, and the same goes for the Castoroides as well. You know what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to deal just loads and loads and loads of damage, and there's nothing really to go around it. This creature just deals a hell of a lot of damage, has a very predictable taming methods, has a very predictable amount of mobility too, considering its size. It is very lumbering, more so than the Castoroides, as that thing has a surprising amount of stamina and agility, which you may not expect from its model, considering obviously just how big these creatures actually are. In at number 2 is the UT, And why would you say that the UT is more predictable than the Giga? Because surely the Giga is just a more predictable creature. It just is a big hunking carnivore. That's pretty much it. Well, the UT has 2 abilities which are named and just so predictably named. It has to be in the number 2 spot, because apart from that, it is just a carnivore that does carnivore things. Like the Giga, you can kind of just expect it. Its taming method, very simple again, that knockout taming method, and it's just bite and all of that. Just doing what you would expect, nothing really special there. But its courage roar obviously does something to do with courage, so buffing out your creatures, and the fear roar makes creatures scared of it, and it's that simple. The courage roar buffs your creatures and makes them feel more encouraged to obviously go out there and kill whatever they're fighting, hence the buff. And the fear roar makes dinosaurs scared, so they run away from you. And the fact there's a size limit on that as well, again, quite predictable, as a Giga wouldn't really be scared of the UT considering the size difference. And lastly, we have the Rex. And the Rex has to be put on the list, really. This creature is basically just the most basic and predictable Ark dino, or just dino in general there is. The Rex is just so simple. You can tell what it does. Its taming method is so easy to tell if you know any minor thing about Ark. And just all of it is just so predictable. Great boss creature. Yeah, that's what you would expect. Bosses obviously are in games, and you use powerful creatures, or just you use powerful things to defeat those bosses, and you'd use a Rex for a boss, and the Rex is going to have good health, and it's going to have good damage, and its stamina may not be that great, and its weight may not be that great, but its health and damage really are going to rack up, and it will just deal loads of damage. It's not going to be in packs. Rexes are by themselves. It's just that kind of creature, you know. You just know everything about it before you even tamed it or used it in any way. You just know what it's going to do, and you know what it's capable of. You know what it can do. You can just know everything about this creature before you've tamed it, which you really can't say about every creature out there. There's some creatures which are just like, wow, that's really not what I expected out of this thing. This is great, or whoa, that's not what I expected out of this thing. I'm never going to be taming it again. With the Rex, you just know what you're going to get. You just know you're going to get a powerful creature that does damage and is a powerful thing. Like, it's pretty self-explanatory, and yeah, it doesn't have any special abilities or all of that, so it's just really a really predictable tame. There's nothing out there more predictable than it, really. But anyway, that is the end of today's video, and I want to know down in the comments below, what is the most predictable Ark creature in your opinion? Drop it down, and I will see you all later.